Hello and welcome back to another PoE 2 Chayula Monk video here in SSF. I tried recording this earlier, but the latency on Canada East was absolutely insane. I have a friend in Texas and they were like bitching about the Texas server too, so hopefully Washington DC here doesn't get me up into the 20k latency. But real quick, I did do my third lab, or trial I should say, the trial of suck my ass. Got into the breach, waking dream. Nothing else on the tree has really changed. I needed 5 int, so I guess I'm gonna go for reaching strikes next. I'm honestly tempted to just drop this entirely once I hit reaching strikes, because then I can just like go into the decks over here, get the attack speed over here. I'll be much faster and I'll make up for the lack of dexterity through like some of the other nodes. Like I really don't want to come up here. I really don't feel like I need freeze build up still, even after the changes. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong, but this change with heavy frost I think actually buffed. I'm not entirely certain. It was either a buff or like a net neutral change for me. I'm not entirely certain. The links on some of my stuff has changed. All the spirit stuff is into the breach because I don't know, for whatever reason this is like the only perk of Chayula Ascendancy. Like the biggest perk is you can just run all the spirit auras. Grim Feast, I have precision in it because I just don't have enough room. Ghost Dance, fast forward. Wind Dancer, I'm trying out Wind Wave and Energy Barrier. This will automatically start recharging ES if you get stunned. So if you're getting stunned, you're probably having Wind Dancer go off because you're getting hit. That's kind of the idea with it. A little bit of tankiness and whatnot. Combat Frenzy linked with Profusion. Ice Strike, Crescendo, Cold Infusion, Martial Tempo, Close Combat, and Heft. I swapped out Concentrated Effect for Cold Infusion. Concentrated Effect, I tried using it and I tried not using it, and it's just nicer with Cold Infusion. Close Combat, it's not impacting the tooltip DPS, but as far as I'm aware, it does impact the actual damage. Heft does impact the tooltip DPS. Charge Staff, Perpetual Charge, Conduction, Persistence, and Innervate is what I'm currently running. Ice Bite, Magnified Effect, Calling Strike on my Shattering Palm, helps with some of the AoE clear. Inevitable Critical on Tempest Spell, sometimes when you place it down after you use like Shattering Palm in like a really dense area, it does some nice pops. Withering Touch, they reduce the less damage multiplier by 25%, so my bell's going to be doing quite a bit more damage now. So we gain damage there in this setup. And then Frostbomb, Second Wind, Strip Away, Arcane Tempo. Not entirely certain if I should keep Frostbomb. Maybe I should switch to Eye of Winter, and then have Eye of Winter apply exposure on hit, as well as that whatever it's called, the critical weakness to increase my crit rate. I honestly think that might be way more DPS in the current setup. Another big thing that I've changed is I moved a lot of my gear around. I basically corrupted everything that I have equipped. What has resulted of this is me having slightly over res. So this map has Elemental Pen. Still rippy because I believe if it works like it does in PoE 1, it basically means I have 55% res against all elemental damage. But I do have 84 chaos res. That's nice. Nice quality of life. I probably could have Divine Orbed my body armor here, because this could have gone up by even just 1 point, would make it go over to 85. But enough yap, time for a showcase and hopefully a boss. I did swap out my gloves. These don't have mana gained on kill. I get a tiny bit of mana gained on kill from my ring. So I do have to use my mana flask. The damage feels fine. I do wish it was like, I just want like better clear And because of a lot of the changes, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe trying out some of the other skills. Even though freeze is nice, it would just be nice to also just have like way better clear. If I drop the like your lightning damage or whatever, can like chill or whatever it's called, I forget the name, but has an interesting interaction with like a lot of the herald stuff. I could technically run 2 heralds, just with like some different slightly different pathing on the passive tree. So I might end up doing that and then running charge dash or gathering storm, whatever you want to call it. I just refer to it as charge dash because that's what it is. But they did buff charge the gathering storm damage by around like 50%. It's still not the greatest for like single target. However, for like a big rare in the center of a pack, you kind of just dash in, and as long as it's surrounded by a bunch of mobs, it's always just been like instant one shot. And I think you can put like a stun avoidant link on it. So I might just do that for like general mapping if I can get like the 6th link. I do have 96% rarity now. And I have a freeze charm because freeze was starting to get a bit annoying the higher maps I started getting into. Like in T6, I barely ever got frozen, but in like T7 plus, I started noticing freeze was a bit more of a problem. Not entirely certain if rarity is impacting gold like it does in PoE 1, but I guess I'll find out over time. I've been using all of my gold on the gambler for accessories specifically. They did reduce, like, they did a huge quality of life patch. Like, the passive points is like, for the lower levels, it definitely went down like dramatically. Like level 80, it took off like 2.9k off the total cost. No idea what the original cost was at 81. And then as soon as the patch went live, I immediately ran Trial of Sekimo's. I did record it. If you would like, I can post it. Fair warning though, the honor resistance with like the underground mobs is still very, very, very annoying after you're on the 3rd, I don't know what to call it, like gate or whatever. It's still very, very, very annoying. They pop up underground, like big ass, like whatever you want to call it, devours. I hate this map. This layout is like not terrible, but everything else about the layout with like the mob spawning from like the swamp, super annoying. I think I completely missed the boss, so I'm gonna have to backtrack. I really want like a T10 spirit gem, so I might honestly go back and farm some of the lower level zones. I'm not entirely certain what where a level 10 drops, but I definitely need it. It would lower my int requirements dramatically. Guess that's that rarity working. Kind of just like honestly face tank so much shit now because of the chaos res. I was at 56% last video, but getting into like the 80s is just insane. Makes life so much. Yeah, I'm thinking it's that way. And they did change the cooldown to like generate frenzy charges from, or Yeah, frenzy charges, I should say. So combat frenzy is 1.8 seconds. So this might enable flicker, like really juiced up flickering. So maybe I should try out flicker. I have this like hypothesis that you could probably make like a poison flicker honestly work. Like if you had Herald of Thunder like pinning and electrocuting enemies in conjunction with like flicker poisoning enemies, assuming like poison still counts as you killing it like in PoE 1, I could see it being pretty good. Damage is fine, still using like the same exact weapon. Oh yeah, can't pick up anything. With all this rarity gear, what I'm probably gonna end up doing is just like farming out like T7s, T8s, building up like a larger T9, T10 map pool, trying to get some gear upgrades, trying to get like some jeweler orbs and stuff. Like I have so many of the lesser, but the big ones are just like not dropping for me. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the last video, but essentially I just evolved gem and I went from, because I had 2 of the 4-link jewelers, but I evolved for a 5-link, and that's how I got my 5-link. There's a lot of stuff that I would like to upgrade, but it's just upgrades are so hard to get. Wait a minute. That is that low of... Wow, that is amazing for leveling. And in case you're unaware, there is new tech about Quarterstaffs out. The short and skinny is Pillar of the Cage God is insanely busted. I honestly do expect that build to get nerfed. People are using it now. Well, specifically Disfarble Waggle is using it with what is it called? He's using it with Hands of Wisdom in Action, which is now considered a glove, not a claw in PoE 2, because PoE 2 doesn't have claws. But it's now considered a glove. You stack a bunch of attributes, you go Gemling Legionnaire to double all your stats or whatever, and he's basically like, his AoE with his Storm Wave is like, I shit you not, like 3/4 of the fucking screen. Like if you, it's basically a shotgun. Like if you fire it this way, you got no problems over here. You fire it this way, it's no problems over here. You gotta get yourself a shotgun. The Bilber skit is basically like what it is. So it's insanely overtuned. I honestly do expect it to get nerfed. He's doing way too much fucking damage with that skill. So if you see Pillar of the Cage God or Hands of Wisdom in Action get nerfed, blame Waggle. That is clearly the strongest build in the game. I honestly expected him to just whip out Charge Dash and start using it, because Charge Dash against like rares that like have ads or like bosses that have ads, it's just gonna one-shot them, because how that skill works, here, I'll pull it up. How Gathering Storm works, or as I like to just call it, is Charge Dash, is you have a range, you charge up that range.
Hold down the button for Gathering Storm.
That's the non-boosted.
Striking all in your path. Release the storm at the perfect
you do the perfect time, the perfect whatever, and you basically make like mini AoEs around you. That's what the shockwave is when you do the perfect dash. And these shockwaves, they shotgun. But because he's scaling so much AoE, as long as he hits up to 10 enemies, he's a Gemling Legionnaire, so this can become 11 or whatever. This would effectively allow you, if there's ads, to hit a boss with whatever, like this is level 16, so it can go much higher. But whatever like 282 times 13 is, so that's a lot of damage. And then you're also hitting them with this number up here. I believe there's like a support to consume shocks on enemies or deal bonus damage if an enemy is shocked. I honestly can't remember. Conduction. Maybe I'm just like being stupid. I thought there was a mechanic like that. No, 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 it's a spell. It's the whatever the lightning conduit or whatever it's called in this game. Consumes the shock. But anyways, one thing that I'm considering swapping out, I'll just use a level if I can even use it. No, I gotta be much higher level, 13. I am considering using Eye of Winter instead of Frost Bomb, and then having Eye of Winter apply the cold exposure. I'm not entirely certain how cold exposure and the freeze node is exactly interacting, but Eye of Winter applies critical weakness, and this will give us base crit. So I may end up using Eye of Winter and then trying to hit the boss with like a Unleash Eye of Winter, faster casting, whatever is going to cause the more and more projectiles to actually hit the enemy. I don't know how long the critical weakness applies for. I'm going to have to test it out. But right now, being at like 38% crit, if I can get like even just 5% like base crit would be insane. So hover over this node over here. Like that's just one base crit is like giving us over 1,000 tooltip. So like imagine like an extra like 5,000 tooltip basically. And it doesn't just apply to like the Ice Strike, it also applies to the Charged Staff, the Tempest Bell, applies to like everything basically. So that might be the play instead of using Frost Bomb, because I don't think Frost Bomb is working with Heavy Frost now the way that Heavy Frost is now worded. Hits ignore non-negative elemental resistances of frozen enemies. So if you put the mob into negative, it doesn't like benefit from it. But like if we were doing like some weird like weapon swap with like the curse effect stuff or anything else like that, because we do get like some curse effect over here, like I could honestly have like a weapon swap where you drop the crit, and then you just put everything into like the cursing stuff. You could make it so that you have like a very, very potent curse that lowers the res. Maybe do that for chaos damage? I'm not entirely certain, but that's something that I definitely want to play around with later. At least not currently. Like if I reach like red maps and I'm like, oh man, the boss DPS is just not there, maybe then I'll start playing around with it. If anybody wants to play around with like the curse tech, you could basically have like a two curses that you weapon swap into and apply like negative chaos, negative like cold, or negative lightning, whatever your primary damage type is, to a boss, and that'll be up for like 10 seconds, and then you just weapon swap and then go back to like regular fighting. And how the weapon swap works, from my understanding, is as long as you're just using the ability, it just automatically swaps for you. And you can like animation cancel by like dodge rolling out of stuff. So like if you wanted to, you could like go far, like back up a little bit while like a boss is doing an AoE, use the, like imagine Charged Staff here is just like the curse. I would pop the curse on the enemy and then use like Shattering Palm to close the distance, and then immediately go back into just like playing the build the way it's intended. So it's pretty fluid. It just requires setting it up. Not entirely certain if I want to do that yet. I think you don't get like extra gem setups, so I'd have to drop something, and currently I'm not really willing to drop anything other than potentially Frost Bomb. So either using the critical weakness, or if even I can use like the critical weakness in conjunction with a curse by having an unset ring, like this guy here. I could technically, I believe, drop this and still be above. Yeah, I can drop that and still be above on my res. And I actually gain life from it. So maybe that is what I should do, but at least for the current time, I want the rarity. Rarity from a lot of different, like, random pieces of gear. So having high rarity is always a good thing. 96%. So that's kind of the potential tech that I'm cooking up. Additionally, because of like charge dash getting a huge buff, if I can get one of the herald-ish rings, I could drop some of the defense just for like low tier mapping, switch to the charge dash, because your heralds can basically like chain off of each other. Use charge dash for like a big pack, and then all the heralds will like help do cleanup. I think that could be very, very effective because charge dash just like one taps bosses by itself. Obviously that's like a lot of different like farming setups and whatnot. So there's a lot of stuff to play around with. And then lastly, Flicker Strike. It's very, very strong in its current iteration. If I had more like jeweler orbs, I'd be like basically doing this stuff like immediately. But I would like to have like extra like 4 links and 5 links, especially for like curses and whatnot. Yeah, all of that seems really, really, really good. So yeah, that's it for this video. That's like the tech and the thoughts and everything. The last thing I'm gonna say is, on the topic of Flicker Strike, I do think it would be possible, after doing a bit of research, to like have a Flicker Strike build as a Chayula monk that is poison. I actually do think that that is like entirely possible. It would take some figuring out, and another streamer, Travik, he made a video about like his monk updates with like Howa going, I believe he went CI even, but in that video he has like a weapon, because basically a bunch of people started like giving him weapons that had like different random like stat values, like the crit damage, etc. And I believe just like honestly just straight up crit chance and the crit damage bonuses scale much better than like the flat damage on your weapon in like the super late game, especially if you like have the Hands of Wisdom in action in your glove slot. So a lot of flat damage is like really, really, really impactful, depending on what other gear you have, and as well as the crit. And the crit will just give you way more consistency if you can get high crit chance. So I really want an expert Gothic staff, with crit chance, with crit damage, with attack speed, and I don't honestly think that the implicits really matter. Like if this staff literally had crit chance instead of the life gain per enemy killed, it would probably be like my best in slot for a very, very, very long time, because just the crit solves so many issues with the builds. That's why I think going the Eye of Winter is probably a really, really, really good thing to do. So yeah, that's it. I already said see you in the next one already, but yeah, see you guys in the next one. I do think there is a legit light at the end of the tunnel. Just it's gonna take some exploration, and if I was on Trade League, I'd already be doing all this stuff and figuring it out, because I'd probably have enough currency from not wasting like 50 exalts on just like slamming random body armors and crap. But yeah, that's it for this one. See you next time. Peace.